core, it's important to note that the area of the body we're referring to is from the trunk up to the shoulders. So consider this area a cylinder, 360 degrees around. The muscles of the core act to either stabilize or move the spine through different planes of motion. Regardless of the movement, whether you're running, rucking, digging, they either originate or pass through the core. So in order to maintain that force from lower through to upper body or vice versa, it's important to have a stable core. So how do we build stability throughout the core? Today I'm going to show you 4 exercises from each of the core stability movement categories that we focus on in our programming with Naval and Officer Cadets. So the first exercise we'll look at is a glute bridge. This is an anti-flexion exercise, working the posterior chain. What we're doing is trying to resist the rounding of the lumbar spine, the lower spine. So in a supine position, you're going to keep your feet hip width apart. Fingertips should be able to touch the heels. Keeping a neutral spine, head relaxed on the floor, you're going to squeeze the glutes and extend up through the hips. So what we're looking for is a straight line from the shoulder passing through the hip up through the knee, getting full extension in through the hips. The next exercise is an anti-extension exercise, coming into a plank. So in this position, we are resisting the lower arching of the lumbar spine. So getting into a plank position, we're going to keep our feet together in the back, high up on the toes. So bring your heels together in the back, high up on the toes, hips square to the floor. Neutral spine, so looking down at the floor. And rather than focusing on reps, we're going to focus on breath. So trying to get full, deep diaphragmatic breaths throughout this position. The next category is anti-rotation. So you're going to come into a push-up position. Wrists under shoulders, hips square to the floor, neutral spine. Your feet can be together or separated for extra support. So for this movement, we're resisting rotation, so that twisting motion. So for this exercise, we're going to do a plank shoulder tap. So once you're in your push-up position, you're going to take your right arm, tap your left shoulder, and then alternate left arm to right shoulder. So what we're watching for is that the hips stay square to the floor and we resist that drop side to side. So the next category is anti-lateral flexion. So this exercise is going to help us resist tipping over to the side. So we're going to come into a side plank. So the first thing we're going to do is rest our hips on the floor, stacking our hips and knees and feet over top of one another. Forearm is on the floor, weight is in through the elbow. The opposite arm is going to go straight up into the air, and using your core, tightening up through the glutes, pushing through to extension, you're going to lift your body up off the floor into a side plank. Make sure your glutes are squeezed and pushed forward, maintaining a neutral spine. There are lots of progressions and variations for the core, especially when you start to incorporate weights. However, it's very important to ensure that you can master the foundational skills before moving on. So be sure that you're comfortable in all of these exercises before progressing into the more complex exercises.